You are living in a simulation right now, and how you react to the things that happen to you are based on how deeply seated this belief is within you. Because everything that's happening within this simulation is based on what you consent to be true of your world, and that is what's pushed out. So you hear everything is you pushed out. The meaning of that is not essentially that it's you and everyone's going to be like you, that you're going to, if you're a good person, that means you're always going to see good people in your world. That's not what that means. Everything is you pushed out in the simulation is everything you consent to being true of your world. And if you believe that everyone is bad and everyone is this and everyone is that, then that's what's going to happen. And that's the simulation is going to demonstrate to you. So it's about changing those beliefs. But where does that begin? That begins with you understanding that you're living in a simulation. And once you understand that you're living in a simulation, it's a high-tech simulated world and it's not real, then you start being able to change. These beliefs just automatically start changing. As soon as you change that belief that you're living in a simulation, everything's controlled within you, then all of a sudden, all of your beliefs and everything you consent to being true of your world just instantly starts to change. Like as you're watching this video and you're hearing these words come out of my mouth and you're like, wow, he's got a point. This is actually real, that I'm living in a simulation. Quantum physics shows these things. And as I'm changing my assumptions and my inner dialogue is changing and my concept of myself is changing, my world is changing. And what I fall asleep with at night, say I'm climbing the ladder to sleep, all of a sudden I see ladders everywhere, these glitches in the matrix, the simulation. That's solidifying my belief and changing what I consent to being true of my world, because I'm experiencing all these strange things to happen in my world by what I fall asleep with. Like if I were to count $100 bills as I'm going to sleep at night, and all of a sudden I'm seeing, $100 bills everywhere. People are giving me $100 bills. I'm seeing people with $100 bills. I'm seeing all these things that are associated with money more and more and more as I'm falling asleep. Why is this happening? It's because it's not real. It's because you're living in a simulation, and what you fall asleep with doing at night and you carry into SATS, the state akin to sleep, or the drift in flow state. That's what's being impressed into the subconscious, and then shifting and then sending that out into the world, because the inception point of what you consent to being true of your world, the inception point of that is right as you're falling asleep at night. When you go into that from being conscious to being like half conscious, but still kind of in control of the direction of your attention a little bit. But as you go into this drift, you slip off into the unconscious, which is the subconscious. And everything you take into the subconscious is then pushed into the parallel realities within the simulation. And then that's what shifts you to a version of a simulation that ends differently, depending on what you fell asleep with believing to be true of your world. And that's what dictates everything that happens to you in your world. So just knowing that you're living in a simulation and listening to this video and understanding that is changing your worlds. Like you're going to fall asleep tonight with a different belief of what you consent to being true of your world. And you're going to shift just based on this knowledge and you getting past that barrier or the threshold of you living in a solid, real reality. Like somebody that lives their entire life thinking that the world that they're living in is a solid reality, it never really changes. They're reacting to everything that's happening. I mean, when they see glitches in the simulation, they think that maybe they have like a psychological problem, like they have schizophrenia or they have this bipolar, whatever it is. Like all these, they start seeing the glitches and they start thinking that they're crazy. They go schizophrenic, and then they have a doctor that diagnoses them with this issue. Yeah, you have schizophrenia. That's why you're seeing all these strange things happening. But really, you're falling asleep, visualizing yourself and being and doing all of these different things, and then it's demonstrating into your world. It's being created into the world. And when you're seeing these things, if you don't understand you're living in the simulation, sometimes that can make you feel a little bit crazy, because that's what it appears to be. And if you were to go to a doctor or a psychologist or a shrink, they would tell you that you may have some psychological issues, but really it's because you're living in a simulation. It's being projected from inside of you out like a movie screen. And that's why sometimes you see these glitches and these strange things happening. But really, it's only demonstrating that your world is not a solid reality. It's not. And if you take it as a solid reality, you start seeing these glitches, sometimes you may go a little bit crazy. But you must understand this. And it's all based on reactionary processes and your inner dialogue and what you consent to believe of true of your world. That's what's producing this. It's writing it, it's scripting it, it's producing it, it's directing it, you're acting in it. Everything is being created from within you and being pushed out into the simulation. And the more that you truly understand how this is working, how your world is being pushed out and projected into the screen of space, and it's not real, it's a simulation. The more you go over this, the more we go over this, the less that you will react to negative things and bad things that happen to you, because you know that it's just coming from within you. And the more that you understand you're living in a simulation, the easier it becomes to manifest into things into your world, because you no longer have you're changing your beliefs and what you consent to being true of your world as you're solidifying this new belief within you. And then it makes things easier because you're no longer needing the hows and the whys and the ifs and all these things. You realize that anything is possible to you. It's a simulation. It doesn't need a logical sequence, a bridge of events and all these different things that have to be done in order for something to create. It's just a feeling state. It's a natural feeling state that you have to be in. And now you can consume yourself with a different identity and a different avatar and a different version that you want to be. And it has to reproduce that in the simulation. It has to mirror that new person that you become. And the more you understand you're living in a simulation and your world's not real, the easier that becomes to you. Because when you go to sleep at night and you truly, believe that you're living in a simulation, you don't have the barriers and the blocks. The analytical mind is now blocked from keeping you from believing that anything is possible. Now you truly believe that, and the analytical mind is no longer present. And you're like, okay, it's a simulation. I can have whatever I want. I can create any feeling state I want. I can be whoever I want. I can have whatever I want. And then you can just assume that that's already true because it's a simulation. And now you've just overcome all of these barriers, like 50 years of barriers and beliefs that you've just overcome in 30 seconds, just from understanding this and going over this. So the more you go over this, the easier it is to manifest things to come into your world. And the less that you react to things, because you can ask yourself that question right now. Why are you reacting to things if it's a simulation? Why are you getting upset about anything if it's just a simulation? If you're not manifesting what you want, it's just based on you believing you live in a solid reality, because otherwise, why would you be having any barriers to begin with? Why are you reacting to this? It's just within you. You just need to go over this more, cover this more, get away from instant gratification, because that stuff can really limit you as it relates to holding your attention on something for long periods of time, like understanding that you're living in a simulation. If you're hooked on instant gratification and short form content, and your attention span is designed to only focus on things for a short amount of time, you're going to watch this video, and as you're watching it, you're going to know you're living in a simulation. But as soon as you stop watching it, 10 minutes from now, you're going to forget again. Is because you're hooked on instant gratification and dopamine and short, your short attention span is developed this way. So, and you're going to forget all about it later. So you have to keep rewatching it over and over. But once you develop the muscle of your mind, your attention, present moment awareness, knowing that you're living in the simulation, you can hold on to you don't forget, because you're constantly present and you're holding your attention. Your attention is just automatically absorbing information, and you're not just letting it go in 10, 20 seconds from now. Getting away from these types of things can really, truly help you, really solidify your new beliefs and what you consent to being true of your world, which it is a simulation. Stop forgetting that. Get away from that. Get your power back to focus your attention on these things. And this is the main reason why I created my private community titled The World is a Simulation. And that's what we're breaking free from. We're developing our attention, our present moment awareness, to know that we're living in a simulation and changing what we consent to being true of the world. And that's exactly what we're doing in there. And that's why I encourage everyone that wants to get to the next level to know that you're living in a simulation constantly, to break free from the barriers, change what you consent to being true, to join my private community on School. The World is a Simulation. I'll even make it really, really simple for you and put the link right on the screen for you right now. Click on that link. I love you all, and I'll see you in The World is a Simulation. I love you. I'll see you in the next one.